Hi, I'm Julia Stubbe, and today we're going to have a conversation with Ralph Slond. He does empowerment and business mentoring. Did I get that right, Ralph?
Yep, you did. You did get that right.
And we're just going to hang out and have a conversation because he's got that masculine part of him going on, and I got that feminine part going on, but we each have a little bit of each in us. So we wanted to talk about just things we do, different perspectives of how we see things, so that it might give you, our listeners right now, an opportunity to just see things from different perspectives as far as that goes. So where would you like to start, Ralph?
Well, honestly, first of all, I want to say hello to all the listeners. I'll look right dead on in the camera. Hello, I'm looking at you.
Well, I can do that too, but anywho, what?
You do transformational healing, right? Transformational, what is it?
Healing,
Healing
yeah, I
coaching?
do. I facilitate transformational healing. I work with quantum healing, and I have different programs, transformational programs, and then I work one-on-one for mentorship programs, and it's just magic. It's like and I don't really do anything because I'm just a channel, and I
Yeah.
just connect with source, and I've been working on my journey for probably as long as you've been on this planet, and so so the information that I get through is not it's not boogered up with my stuff because I've been working on that. And then when my triggers show up, it's like, for me, it's an opportunity to heal, take a look
Mhm.
inside myself. What do you do when your triggers show up?
Well, there's actually what I do during sessions. I'm actually trying to think what I do because
No, for yourself, for yourself.
oh, you mean in my life?
Yeah, we're talking about you and me, babe.
All right, well, I'll tell you
I mean,
something.
your
When I'm
wife,
triggered,
I mean, you do have a wife, right? So let's be clear. And you're on the other part of the country, so we don't have anything else going on, but we're just talking.
exactly.
We're just talking.
But yeah, no. What do I do when my triggers show up? Because
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
really it's good that there is a good distinction because obviously when I'm working with clients, and obviously that happens sometimes, so I just kind of like put them in like my spiritual closet and like, okay, it's funny that it comes up right now. I'll deal with it as we're going through it as the healing, but as they come up in my life,
Mm-hmm.
let me tell you something. This funny thing starts happening. I'll spell it out for you. No, I won't spell it out. But it's this little thing called denial.
Ooh.
And then at first it's denial. Then my defense mechanisms kick in, and there's like some anger that I start to want to reenact on my wife. I'm like, wait a second. I wasn't angry at her before, and I wasn't angry at her before because of this particular thing, because it might be anything. I'm like, huh, interesting. Why am I so angry? Because as I was growing up, that was my big defense mechanism. My parents were always, I learned how to be angry, but
Because it's a form of protection for you.
yeah,
Yes.
exactly.
Yeah, because
So
they
whenever that starts showing up, I'm like, huh, there's probably something else going on. I
so
might have to check
now
this out.
you're at a point where you do look inside. It just takes you a little bit longer. For me, it's like, oh, this again. Awesome. All
Yeah.
right. Thank you, universe. I'm so grateful you made this show up again for me. Okay, let's see what we can do. And maybe by the time you get to be my age, you'll be at that point. But it takes,
I usually get there right after the anger. I'm like, I get angry. I'm like, huh, okay. And then I start going inwards. I'm like, oh yeah, thank you for showing me this. Then I start feeling grateful, but I have to get through the anger first. That's usually what happens in my life.
yeah. I can relate to that because that anger is a part of survival, of
Yeah.
how we survived in those relationships. Because it's like, for me, I actually have trouble releasing anger,
Mm.
because, let's see how I can put it from my perspective, is that because I would always be the even keel person, and I would keep
Yeah.
even, and I was the peacekeeper, da 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 da. So all this anger would get stuffed and stuffed, and then it was like, you didn't want to pull that trigger. You did not want to be. I wouldn't want you in my path when the anger finally released, and this is in my younger days, because it was
Mm-hmm.
scary. It was a scary place. So I've released all that, because now it's like I just acknowledge what I'm feeling as opposed to letting it stuff. So the anger doesn't build up, like it did when I was, a teenager and in my 20s.
Oh, that's an interesting one. So when you started feeling that, when you started becoming aware of that, how did you release that? Like the initial anger when you started, because now obviously it comes up and you express it as it comes up.
Well, it was just years of of forgiving myself, forgiving others, and just going through that and just changing my programs and my beliefs as far as that goes. Like the latest trigger I had was maybe 3 years ago. That was like huge, that I was really pissed, that I really got angry. I live in a development here in Florida. Where you live?
I live in Ukraine.
Oh, okay.
Other side of the world.
I actually know 1 or 2 people out in the Ukraine. One.
Oh, really?
One's from the States, and his family's there, and him and his family are there now.
Huh.
And I also did something with somebody else, but he's in Scotland now. Anywho, back to that. So I had a neighbor who she had some health issues going on, and her husband had a lot of health issues, and he went in the hospital, and he was concerned about her. So here we have wellness checks. So you can call the police and you can ask them to do a wellness check. And there's 4 units in my building, and they never got the letter. So they would be knocking on my door, and I say, oh, I think you want this person. And it's like, I was fine with all that. And then it was like 5 or 6 visits. And then a couple weeks after that, it was 10:30 at night, and the doorbell rang. And I opened the door, and it's her, and there's a taxi driver standing in back of her, and there's a taxi cab in my driveway.
Huh.
I'm like, how can I help you? She goes, well, this is my house. I live here. I'm like, actually, I live next door. She was totally intoxicated, and it brought up my mother, because my mom was an alcoholic. She was psychotic. And it was like, and the driver, he took her, and I closed the door, and I'm like, oh, I thought I was over all that. And I could feel the anger, and I could feel the trigger, and I'm like, oh, more healing with mom. Oh, I thought I was all done. But it was, I think what happens is when we do that, when we keep doing it, it allows our psyche to go deeper at a deeper level each time, because we constantly do it, raising our vibration. It's like, oh, you're ready to look at that piece now. And now that I do it on a regular basis, compared to in the beginning of letting things go, it's like, I can heal that, it's like with intention, let it go. It's like, 5 minutes, maybe 20 minutes. And it's like, and then it is processing, and I'm on to the next thing and over through. But 30, 35, 40 years ago, that was not the case.
No, I can imagine that.
And so that's really
I find it funny from your story that I'm sorry, I wanted to hop in there, because I think because what you said right there is a lot of people don't understand that about healing, about like the healing cycles, because what happens with healing, it's literally cyclical. It comes back around, and a lot of people will say, it didn't work. I worked on this so much, and it didn't work, and now it's coming back, and they go on through this whole tantrum that they're throwing then. Instead of realizing, oh wait, it is cyclical, and now I'm ready for the next layer, and you keep on going until trying to kind of trying to I'm trying to measure it in the screen right now.
It's like the spiral, so you like maybe get to the heart of it, so to speak.
Exactly. And and it's not like you didn't do it, but you did. It's not like you didn't do it like last week, when at first it will be really quickly after each other, but as it starts, like kind of like last year, I did it last year, I already did all these healings, but yeah, you did, but now you're ready for the next layer of healings and the next layer of lessons that you're able to get from it.
Yeah, I always refer to it as like an onion. It's just layers. It's like, and we process that. If we would process the whole onion at one time, it's our foundation. It's who we are. It's what we are. And if we would process that onion the whole time, we would blow our foundation out, and we wouldn't know who, and I can't use that word, we are, who the heck we are, because we would lose all that. And sometimes and even that would blow our physical bodies out too, because I've had times where it's like, because I'm an intelligent woman, I should be able to let all this go now. And I would like command it to go now, and then I would like be laying flat on my back for 3 or 4 days. And I'm like, what did I ask for? Oh, maybe I want to modify that a little bit, ask for some grace and ease and just go and flow with it. And then the following day I'd be walking fine.
Yep. And you know what? Even that you did that, that in itself is, I guess that's also because we wanted to talk about today the topic that we wanted to talk about. I don't know if you said it right before you went the record or right.
Well, we have divine timing, I think, was on our list, and like the different perspectives of how we see different things. And then if we
Yeah.
have time, we might, go into that spiritual business part. But I think we just might have enough with these two conversations.
I was about to say, because right now, but as we were talking right now, we're going right into this divine timing and perspective because you commanded that to happen.
Mm-hmm.
And you kind of took your free will. You said, I wanted this to happen. But in a way, this is also very much divine timing because it needed to happen for you to learn this valuable lesson of also divine timing, that you
Right.
commanded something to happen. And now you have this lesson of moderation, of everything in its own time, and all of this. Is beautiful.
Yeah. And it's like, and it's like, and that was, I learned that, 20 some years ago. So I haven't been torturing myself as much. I still torture myself every once in a while because I still just want to get through something. And it's like, okay, let's just do this. And, and I'll go with that. But I always ask for that grace and ease piece now. I never forget that. Never forget that.
Gotcha. That's a good one. Because in my case, I actually do, well, I guess it's also part of me being young and full of energy. I'm like, and ambition, like, I will heal this stuff. And I go through this, and, well, I do lay flat on my back. I'm like, okay, let it come. But I don't know, this is my perspective. Somehow, for me, it feels like when I'm able to, I start questioning it when it starts becoming easy right now. And it's something that I'm working on because I know it happens easy and I know it can happen with grace. But there's something in my body that's almost like there's this programming that is very deeply rooted that for me, I need to feel it as I'm going through it. I need to feel it through my body as I'm moving through that.
Okay. So with that being said, Ralph, because I can't help myself. Just can't. And anybody else who's listening, because it's like, first of all, it's only complicated or difficult because we choose it to be that way.
Yeah.
So let's go into that. Let's just go into that sacred space in your heart, a sacred chamber in your heart. And let's access your beliefs. And let's delete or diminish whatever we can at this time, the belief that it has to be painful to be working. Delete or diminish the belief we have to suffer for it to be effective. Yeah, delete or diminish the belief that I need to feel pain to know that it's working. Delete or diminish the belief that if I don't feel pain or if I don't suffer, then I'm not doing it right. Delete or diminish the belief I need to suffer to be able to let it go. Delete or diminish the belief I need to suffer so that I can recognize it. Let's leave it at that and let that in there. Let that release that.
Yeah. Here you go. Here's
I'd be
another.
Curious how that shifts. Yeah.
Me too, actually. I can feel a shift. And I can also feel for people who are listening, this is a very important one, that we hear both sides. Like, oh yeah, I have this too. Oh yeah, actually we don't have to have this. It's like another divine timing thing right now. You're listening to this as we're talking about this. It really is, I don't know, I like how this just happened.
Yeah, well, I can't, when I see that, when I see beliefs that are holding you back from really being the divine whole being that you're meant to be, I can't help myself. It's just who I am. When I'm in public, I try to keep my hands in my pockets and my mouth shut. But that doesn't mean I don't have these other things going on. I used to when I first I don't know about you, but it's like some 20 some years ago, 30 some years ago when I was first really channeling healing energy. I mean, I've been awoken since I was a teenager, but when I was channeling information, it's like, oh, can I touch you? Would you mind? Strangers, it's like, do you have pain in your shoulders? Here, can I just put my hands on your shoulders? It's like, I've learned to like take a step back with that now. And just, it's like, I can send that without touching anymore. And I was just so excited as far as that goes, and just to facilitate and touch people's lives that way. And so I don't know where you are. What's your perspective like when you're around people and when you can sense that they're in pain or going through something?
Usually it depends on the person. So when it's wild strangers, I will usually not say anything, but I will be there. I'm very well aware of it. Like I will look at someone. I know exactly what they're going through. I can feel that. I can sense it in their field. I can sense it reflecting onto my own body at some people who have really strong stuff going on. And then I'll just, when it's strangers and it's kind of like, not really appropriate to say anything, especially in Ukraine, people don't do that at all. You don't talk to strangers here at all.
Well, it's not really, put it this way, I've shocked many people.
I can imagine that. I can imagine that. But most of the times I will, instead of saying something, I will just give them a smile, give them a compliment, give them be generous in another way, giving a little bit of just sharing love, just unconditional love, if you will. And when it's friends, when it's family, then
see, I back off a little bit more with friends and family.
Oh, really? Yeah, for me that's harder. Because I feel more comfortable then. Well, not that I don't feel comfortable in public, but I guess when I'm with friends and family, my filters are not that much on. Hey, you just said this. This is very interesting. Do you really want to keep on believing that? And then, I guess it's kind of like I say that right now, but then I also have a couple of situations that come to mind right now that I also just send love and like, okay, I just accept their journey. Because it's really, for me with this question, it's really interesting because it's really a balancing act of, on the one hand, you want to help someone, and on the other hand, you're also respecting their free will and their journey, I guess. And I just send love and healing to them.
I think your Wi-Fi connection might be a little off.
And I'm allowed to.
You're breaking up.
I was looking at it right now. Hold on, I'm actually looking at it. No, this works. We're on mute.
Okay, so do you want to? It's like, can we just go? Can I tell you a funny story?
Yeah. Please. I love funny stories.
All right. So back when my son's, I guess he's 31 now. So when he was like 16, 17 years old, it's like, I don't know if you were ever mortified by your mother, but it's kind of our responsibility to do that.
Yep.
So my rule was, if somebody came and they came in my space and they were in pain, I had to offer my services. So that's how I kind of worked through it. And he was helping me go to a show, and so he had his truck and he went to go get his lunch at Sonic, and I was at another, I think I was at Five Guys for and he doesn't like that and I didn't like Sonic. So I came in and it was really crowded. So it's lunchtime. Okay. Gets better. The story gets better, trust me. And so I found a seat and I sat, and these and it was packed, and it's like, so there's these three men, they were African-American men, came in, and the one's like limping and the other one's holding the door for him. I'm like, oh, interesting. And I look at the table next to me and there's somebody there. I'm like, oh, I'm good because the room's crowded. And by the time they got their food, that was the only table empty, and they sat there, and I'm like, oh, I've got to ask, so what's going on with your ankle? And then he told me the whole story, and I said, well, I told him what I do. I facilitate energy healing, and if you would like me to do a little work with that, I'd be happy to, but just let me finish my meal first, and we'll go from there. It's his ankle. Okay, and back then I did hands-on. It's like I was like all about hands-on. So it's like, I said, so what do you think? He goes, I'm open for it. It's like, nothing's been working. They keep telling me this and that and da 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 da, but nothing's working. I'm like, fine. And I just went in the zone, forgot about everybody in the room.
Oh, I already want to know where this is going.
And I go and I put my hands on his ankle, which means my head goes down as well. And I'm there for a good 2-3 minutes, just working on it. And I sit back up and I'm like, how's it? And he's like, he's really quiet. And I'm like, and then he starts moving his foot, his ankle. Just, I couldn't do that before. How'd you do that? Oh, I didn't do nothing. And I look around like, you know what? I gotta go. I was like so grateful my son wasn't with me, because he probably would have just, I can't imagine how he would respond. But it's like, and I'm like thinking of the visual of it afterwards. I'm like, oh my gosh, it's good I didn't have a name tag on or something, because it was like, but that is what I would do when I was guided. I listened to that regardless of the circumstance. Like I couldn't say no, because my team is like, this is our agreement. This is what you need to do. This is our agreement. I'm like, really? Okay. Oh, okay.
Oh my God, that's hilarious.
It's one of my better, and there's been many, but that's like one of the ones that just still sticks in my mind going, what were you thinking? Obviously you weren't, and you're not allowed to think when you're told what to do, are you?
Oh, I love that story. That's so awesome.
Yeah. So after that, anything was cake, as far as that.
Yeah, I can see that. Oh my God, my jaws are hurting from the laughing.
Oh,
Talking about divine timing, right? I mean, this story, another one, divine timing right there. This guy walks in.
He walks in. It's like, that's the whole thing. That's that it's like, it is about timing, because it's like, I've had where one of the other stories that I've had, and this is a little bit different. A friend of mine and I were down in South Carolina at a resort, and we went on these tours, and we were at some winery tour, and I wasn't in there or whatever. I don't know what they were doing. But there was these teenagers outside, and they were all sitting around, and they invited me to sit with them. So I told them what I did. I don't do what I don't do, or what I do, however you want to look at it. And they were like fascinated with it and this and that. And then one of the mothers came out, and she stood there, and I just looked at her like, would you mind if I put my hand on your abdomen? And I did, and I just did. And it's like, I forget what it was, but I did some pulls and pulled it out, blah, 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 blah. And I think I left a card or two. I have no idea. I don't remember. And so we got back to the room, and then, I don't know, there was some friend request on Facebook. I had no idea who it was, and I didn't really accept it as far as that goes. And in the morning, it was like 5:30 in the morning, and my team woke me up. It's like, you got to go to that little place where you saw the sunrise the other morning. I don't know, really? 5:30? It's like, I got to do that again? I was like, I got to do it again? And so my friend that was with me, her name's Julie, I knocked on her door, and I said, do you want to go see the sunrise with me? She goes, no. And I'm like, so I got dressed and I got out, and I'm like, it's raining. Are you serious? I was just like, are you really serious? I have to go. It's like 6 o'clock. I have to go and sit and watch the sunrise in the rain. You don't even see the sunrise in the rain. And I'm having a conversation in the car as I drive, and I'm like, okay, fine. So I had my book bag with me, because it's like, I knew I needed something to sit on out on the open deck in the rain. And my backpack, I should say, not my book bag, but my backpack. And so I got a chai tea. I sat out there, and a couple families were there. This couple came through, went and stood at the end of the pier. I'm like, okay, so I've done my tea. I go in. I said, can I go now? Nope, can't go yet. Fine. So I found something else on the menu, and I sat there and I was eating. And sure enough, that couple was not a couple. It was the woman that I touched the abdomen with, came through.
Oh, no kidding.
And was there in front of me. And I go, oh my gosh, you're the reason I'm here. Thanks. I was just like, at least.
Did you say that out loud there?
I did mean thanks from my heart, because it's like, sometimes I go, and divine timing, it doesn't always show up. Or I don't know what the divine timing is or what the reason is. And But she showed up, and we spent the day in the Botany Bay, and we had downpours, and she had this huge emotional clearing, and it was just like an awesome healing experience.
Wow.
And it never would have happened if I hadn't listened to what my team told me to do. So I'm really good at listening but sometimes I still question them. I still go, really, do I have to do this? And it's like, that's the agreement. I'm like, okay, I'm doing it. I'm doing it.
And then when you're doing it, I bet it feels great once it finally is like all falling into place.
Oh, you know what? I don't even know if I think about it that way, because I look at it like the universe is utilizing me. I am in the right place at the right time, the divine timing.
Yeah.
And I don't know where my ripples go. And I just have to trust that when I listen to them, my team, that I am going to create ripples, and it's going to be magic. And I might not even know what it is, but it doesn't matter. But I just have to trust that. So I like it when I see the results, that I see that like somebody actually shows up for it. But there's a lot of times that doesn't happen. And it might have been just me being kind to somebody, like, you know, a compliment like you do or something like that. Needed it. But I don't know that. It might not be something as profound as what that day was, or that other experience was.
This takes so much, first of all, I'm trying to find the right word. I guess the best word that comes close, self-love, self-respect, and like this walking in alignment. I guess it all comes with self-love. And now I guess the best way to describe it.
Yeah.
You have to really love yourself and love what you're doing and like the guidance that you're getting. That really comes down to a lot of self-love, that you trust yourself so much.
Well, yeah, and it's like, and in the beginning, you know, when I was first, like, I was on my own journey for a while, and then when I was guided to touch other people's lives, I still remember though, it was a holistic show in York, Pennsylvania, and I was doing this, and there was this woman on the table, and I forget what they said, but you need to tell her this. I'm like, I can't say that. I'm not saying that. And so then I made up the meta rule. You got to tell me 3 times, and then I'll repeat it. So I started that way. And then somebody else came up to on that same show and said, "Oh, so you're the psychic that makes people cry?" I'm like, I am not a psychic. I was just like, I am not a psychic, and I can't help it if they cry. That's like, it's just, I still remember that. I was like, because it's like, to me, I'm an intuitive.
Yep.
And I'm very clairaudient. Are you clairaudient?
I am developing that actually right now. I am developing it. Mostly clear. What's the clairsentient?
Or you feel.
Yeah, I feel it inside. It's like a knowing.
Yeah, there's the knowing and there's the feeling. So there's like two different things. Sometimes it's like with the knowing, I think that's one of the hardest ones for people to embrace by itself, because
that's how it comes to me. That's the one because it's for me, the one is really strong is knowing and feeling, both in my body and in my, like, I literally know it, just know it not just in my head, but in like my whole body. I know it.
Because I have that too, in the feeling, because I'm a high level empath, and I've been that way and clairaudient. I've had like, as a child, I could hold items and I could see stuff. It's like I was wide open as a kid, wide open. Nobody told me, oh, you should really clear your fields or you should really ground. I didn't know any of that. So my physical body took this toll as far as.
Yeah, I actually did it too. I remember once that I had this really weird. So I used to see things, and I remember still seeing things, and I remember. There is a vague memory of me that I don't even know. I can't even place it, but I have a vague memory of levitation, something like that. I'm not even like, this is the one thing that I for sure blocked that memory out somehow. I don't know.
Well, and the whole thing is, it's like, it can be a little scary when if you don't have a support system as well. I know, as a clairaudient, it's like, and the knowing, doesn't the gift of knowing get you in trouble? It's like you think you know everything. Well, I do, but it's like
It does, and then you're left there sitting there like, what? Like, okay, I know. What do I? Like, oh my god! And like, how am I going to bring this to people? What am I going to do with this knowledge? And then I sit there like thinking about it.
yeah, it's really hard for me because the clairaudient, I have to really pay attention and watch people's mouths to make sure it's their outside voice coming. And I was, after my son was born, I started waitressing just to get out of the house and make a little extra money. And so I'm sitting at the bar and I'm having a beer, which I'm just letting you know, if you're an empath, you should never sit at a bar and drink a beer. It's just not a good thing, because it's like, oh, there's an empath and I'm a spirit and I'm just might like go into you. But that's not what happened this day. But it has happened in previous days. I don't know if you had that experience or not.
I do not, for this particular reason, I do not drink. I do not smoke. I don't do any
Yeah,
of
I don't
that.
do that anymore. But back in my 30s, I would have, a
Mhm.
social, because it's like with my mom being the alcoholic. But anyway, so me and this waitress were sitting at the bar and we're talking, and I'm paying attention to her mouth, paying attention and talking to her. And then it's like I sip my beer and I hear clear as day, I just wonder what would happen if my spouse would die. But she never said her outside voice. Yeah. And then I answered, we all think about what might happen if our spouse would die and how would we respond to it and what we would do to have to get through it. Her, not using her outside voice, looks at me and goes, so it's true what they say about you. I'm like, oh, she goes, you can read minds. I'm like, oh no, I don't read minds. I just hear thoughts. I like, I just hear thoughts.
She's like, is that not the same thing?
I don't read minds. I hear thoughts. It's completely different. It's like when but and they come through the telephone as well. So that would get me in trouble at work because I would answer people's questions before they actually asked them.
Wow.
Oh yeah. So careful what you wish for when you're opening and awakening your gifts.
Yeah, this is something that is just awakening up for me. Actually, this clairaudience thing. So I respond not necessarily to people's thoughts, but I respond to people's deeper meanings.
Mm-hmm.
So I hear what they're saying, but then I also know, I immediately as they're saying it, I know, okay, I know what you're saying. I know what you actually mean. And when I say that, it pisses people off sometimes.
Oh yeah. And that's the whole thing. As an empath, we are born triggers for other people.
Mm-hmm.
We don't even know what we do, and we can trigger the heck out of somebody because we just do.
Yeah. But I mean, I guess that's the gift as well, because when I'm working with people, it is such a gift, because when I'm working with people and they're telling me something about their problem and whatnot, and I'm as they're telling me, I as they're going deeper and deeper into the story, I go, yeah, that's not about what you just told me. It has nothing to do with that. And I'll tell them, so this and this happened, or how are you feeling about yourself? I don't know, some one of those questions pops up, and always comes in the form of a question that pops up into my mind. That's usually how it comes in the question. So I ask the question, so how do you feel about this? Like, no, that cannot be true. Like, okay. So let's dig a little bit deeper in your problem then. And well, lo and behold, 20 minutes later, oh yeah, no, I didn't realize that was indeed the truth. Like, yeah, I told you so.
Yeah, but it's just who we are. So like if you dive into a session with either Ralph or myself, it's like we do it out of love.
Yeah.
And because first of all, it's like we get all this information and we are guided to just share it. We can't, it's something that it's like you can't, like,
especially you can't hold it to yourself.
You can't keep it to yourself, especially if you're in a session. It's like, for me, it's the people in the grocery store now or at the restaurants, it's like, I take a step back. But if it's in a session, it's like, this is all about the client. So it's like, that's what shows up. And so it's like, so it's really about really going deep, because that's the gift that you and I both have, is to be able to allow our clients to really go deep and really release that stuff at that level. That's so.
So I have a question for you.
Oh, okay.
So this is something that shows up that I have So what I used to do is I used to go into like I would do like 12 sessions, and either
With
once every
yourself
week.
or for a client?
No, for clients. So for with
Okay.
clients, and this is a question for you about clients. So I have to explain this a little bit. So and so there's 12 sessions, either once every 2 weeks or once every week. But what I see with every client, almost every client, there's a moment around between week 4 and 6 that they hit this point where we're starting to hit the bottom. And it's about, I wouldn't want to say 50-50, but it's about 20-80. 20% they just quit. At some point they ghost. They just go completely go AWOL for a good couple of weeks, or they go sick. They completely shut themselves down so they can't have any calls with me, no healings, no nothing anymore. But then the ones that go, some of them they completely stop. Does it happen with you as well? That clients
Well,
also in like longer term work?
well, I'm guided to do 6 sessions. So it's like I do a
Okay.
3-month period.
Yeah.
And I do things a little bit different than you because it's like we can do healing sessions, but I also teach a lot. So I teach
Yeah.
tools and give them stuff that way as far as that goes. It's like, so we do a deeper level of stuff. So they always make it through the 6 weeks. I have a couple that like, I have one, I think this is the 3rd time that she signed up for 6 weeks. And I've had one that's done it, a total of 12 weeks. And so we look at it that way. But I have people who do 1 or 2 sessions and it's like, they're petrified because it's
Yeah.
because it's like they really have to take a look at themselves. You have to be really willing to do the work. And I don't have any attachment to that because everybody has their journey. I know when I was starting with my journey, I was working with a shamanic healer, and it would physically cause me. And it's like, and I knew it was like that suffering part that you love, that was coming. And it's like, oh, do I have, but I was like, I was on board because I knew it was that journey of, even if it was the suffering, because that was the way that she facilitated. She was like the bulldozer, where I'm like, let's just do this nice and easy, I've learned from that because I'd rather have it nice and easy. But
Yeah.
so we would go, and it was like this stuff would come up, and I would literally, stuff would spew out of my mouth and stuff like that. But I knew deep in my heart it was what I needed.
Yeah.
But until you're ready to surrender to that, you can't push that as far as that
Yeah.
goes. So
Yeah, exactly.
yeah, like I said, I was guided to do like the six sessions when it comes to my mentorship program.
Huh. That is so interesting. What? I love comparing notes like this. I always do. I don't know.
Well,
It's fun.
what I'd like to ask whoever's listened to this and listened to the whole thing, if you want us to do this again, on my YouTube channel, there'll be a place to put comments and say, yeah, bring Ralph and Julia back for an encore presentation. Or and in Facebook, if it's something you're interested in having us do again, because if you've listened all the way, then maybe we've kept your attention for that. Leave it in the comments, and then Ralph and I will, see if we can hang out again and have another conversation. And who knows what that'll be about, because divine timing, perspective, you never know where we're going to be at that time.
Nope. No idea.
If you're listening to me on Facebook, please feel free to share this video. If you listen to us on Facebook, if you're on my YouTube channel and you're checking this out, please give us a like, a subscribe, and you can share the video as well. We would love comments of what you enjoyed about this conversation. Ralph's links will be in the description on my channel as far as that goes. I might come up with something on Facebook, who knows, because it's like divine timing. And I also have my links in there as well, so you can check out our services or whatever you want to do.
Yeah.
So, on that note, any last words, Ralph?
I absolutely enjoyed this. This was fun. This was a lot of fun to talk about. I really hope for everyone also who is listening to this that you got something out of this, maybe some good laughs, if anything, you got some good laughs out of this and some good downloads. I just want to wish you an amazing day, you guys, everyone who's listening. Thank you so much for listening. If you listen to this all the way through, I mean, it's been an honor. I really love this, Julia.
Oh, Ralph, I'm glad. I'm glad we got to do this. It's like, I just, from your perspective, as you know, you're just, you know, you're early on in your,
Yep.
and it's like, I'm the crone. I've been around the block a couple times, and you know, so we see that, and we've got the masculine energy and the, you know, between that and the feminine, it's like we bring that together. So who knows? This might be a thing. Guess we'll
Maybe,
find
who
out.
knows? This might be super interesting because obviously you are, like you say, you're in the crone phase, and I'm literally just stepping into my own as a like in that warrior phase, and I'm just getting in there. I'm just starting out like that.
Yeah. All right. Well, on that note, we're going to say goodbye.
Yes.
And
Goodbye, everyone.